Welcome everybody, this is Jack Gassett here bringing you round 5 of the F1 2012 I Am No Expert Career Mode Series, and right now currently beating our teammate in the Teammate Challenge, and so want to keep moving on that, hoping to take his spot as the #1 driver midway through the season. And you can see that got a wet track here in practice at Catalunya and very dodgy conditions. You can see I'm on the prime tires, and that's not doing me any good whatsoever. Already thinking about going in for intermediates and start to lose the grip here and into the gravel. And this is lap 1 of our practice session, and going back in the garage, I'm going to go ahead and try out the inners and see if that does me any good. And want to take a quick look at the weather report for the weekend and see what race day looks like. So we have a dry race, but you can see we've got almost a 50% chance of rain in qualifying, so we have to be careful about our setup once we get into Q1, because once we make our setup in Q1, that is our setup for the weekend, so got to be careful there. And so now you can see even on the intermediate tires having a lot of problems here and sliding off at the end of the long straight near the end of the lap here, and just not having a lot of success. And you can see that the track conditions are very tricky right now. It's hard to tell what tires to be out on. Currently running P19 and trying to figure out the best grip for the track, and you can see that not doing me any good here, back into the gravel again, and so the session is basically turning into a complete disaster, just not really getting anything meaningful out of it. As you can see, a dry line starting to form. Have mixed feelings about Catalunya, as many of you remember the AI bug in 2010 that made it a very fast AI track, but that seemed to have been corrected in F1 2011. But I definitely have a handful of corners that I struggle with, so we'll see if we can make up for our misery here in qualifying. And you can see that the track has dried out, so that's good news. We should be able to get in some good dry times moving into Q2, but again, we are expecting about a 50% chance of rain, and team objective is to finish 8th. So again, because we have a dry race, we're going to go with the dry setup, and this is my first race of this series where I'm using a custom setup, finally getting around to checking those out. And this was taken off of racedepartment.com. I believe it was Brahms setup, so I want to thank him for that. And feel free to pause this to take a look at it. I did feel a significant improvement in the handling for the circuit using this setup, so I suggest that you check it out if you are having problems. Seemed to work pretty well for me, but of course the true test is going to be what my times look like against the AI. And I've had pretty good success in qualifying thus far, but I've also had quite a few wet sessions, so it's hard to say exactly how fast the AI is through this many races, 4 races so far. So now here at the end of lap 2, you can see able to get P1, but it's early of course, going to be satisfied with that, but start to lose the car here at turn 1 and into the barrier. And there goes my front wing, so I hadn't planned on taking another hot lap anyway, but of course that's going to cost me time in repairs. So milking the car around the track and going back in, and you can see that my time is holding up pretty well, P3. In fact, never had to go back out and end up getting our best Q1 result on the season so far, especially in the dry. But as we move along here to Q2, you can see that the clouds have rolled in, and that's going to mean probably some tricky conditions. And it's hard to say when the rain will come, but we are going to be anxious to get out and get the time set ASAP before the rain does kick in, because it's not raining just yet. And so again, we are running a dry setup. We want to keep that for race day, but feeling pretty confident because of our Q1 results, as long as we can get a good time set before the rain kicks in, which is going to be any second. And you can see as soon as I get first position, I'm immediately bumped back by Alonso, and now you can see just dropping down the order with every passing lap from the top teams. And that is not a good sign. It is starting to rain now and having a little bit of issues with grip, and you can see that Alonso coming up now very fast for the AI in qualifying. Usually the AI is running very slow, which has actually been a complaint of a lot of people. So trying to get around him here because I don't want to be stuck behind him for my next hot lap, and start to lose the car here, but able to stay ahead of him, and then too much wheel spin over the curb, and that's going to let Alonso back around, so almost put into the gravel, and things are not shaping up very well. And now as we start lap 5, you can hear that the car is starting to wheeze a bit. I had been advised to go in for fuel, and I ignored that order because I was desperate to get in another hot lap, and as soon as I got across the start-finish line, realized that I was running well out of fuel, so going to go ahead and turn my fuel mix down. And obviously another major setback. I've got to do the entire circuit, and you can see just how fast I'm able to go here on no fuel. And it's going to cost me a lot of time in this qualifying session, so milking it around to get more fuel and hopefully get in one more go. And we've got 5 minutes left, not much to do. And you can see here as I'm trying to get another hot lap, make contact there with the Red Bull. I believe it was a Red Bull, never saw him coming as I was trying to make my turn here. And absolutely collided, took off my front wing and ended my session, and we were never able to improve on our P16 result in Q2. So basically an utter catastrophe here, and we're going to have it all to do on race day. So we had the little duel there with Alonso, we had the changing conditions, we had running out of fuel, and of course the collision there at the end. So I basically don't remember a qualifying session that could have gone any worse. But at least we should have dry conditions here, and hopefully we can worm our way up. You can see that the team objective is to finish 10th, and I'm starting off 16th. So now taking a quick look at the starting grid, Michael Schumacher up into P2, so that's an impressive run for the 7-time world champion, and the Sauber running pretty well there at 9th and 10th. And you can see that beat out by my teammate, he's all the way up into P12, and I'm down into P16. And Lewis Hamilton, very disappointing result for him, starting off right behind me in P17, so not sure what happened to Lewis, probably had something to do with the weather. And there's no question that he will be pushing hard here on lap 1, and you can see we're right near Rosberg as well. So here we are to start, chasing down Hulkenberg and the Force India. Not a great start for me, and here comes Hamilton already coming down into turn 1, and Rosberg gets caught up somehow, able to shoot around him. Now coming into a very fast turn 1 and see if we can get around Hulkenberg. No, we are not able to. Trying to get around him on the outside here, and not able to do that. Now contact up ahead, carbon fiber everywhere. Have to relinquish the couple of spots there. Hamilton able to get ahead, but now the field being pushed off to the left and able to push ahead of Maldonado up into P12, and now trying to shoot ahead of Massa and back up behind Hulkenberg, and now wheel to wheel with it looks like Weber. And coming in behind Ricardo, our teammate. Let's see if we can get around him here. And there's very slight contact there with Ricardo, but able to stay in front with no warning from the stewards and settle in behind Hulkenberg and the Force India and up into P9. So a very spirited handful of opening corners. And so far so good as we come up here to this very, very long sweep here to the right. Usually can take that in 5th gear. Now coming along this pretty long straight, one of the longer straights on the circuit. And this very difficult corner, have a lot of problems here. And you can see contact there with Hulkenberg, and he wavers and falls off on the right-hand side and able to get around him. And here's where we were having problems in practice and qualifying. Didn't mean to make contact there with Hulkenberg, but I did give him a little bit of a tap. Pretty slow there. And of course the very tricky chicane here. Very easy to go up over the curb and lose your grip, and I start to there, but able to regain control of the car. And coming around here at the end of lap 1, we are up into P8. So a very, very good start all the way from P16, and happy with that so far. But let's see what kind of pace we have with the AI. Here comes the Force India, and he's not able to make up much ground, so that's good in terms of pace. But start to go wide here at turn 1, and rolling up over the curve, hoping not to lose the car, and you can see able to regain control. But now Hulkenberg all over my gearbox. I had gained a little bit of ground on him after that first lap, and that is pretty much wiped away because of that mistake. And this is one of the most difficult corners in the game for me. Certainly on this circuit anyway, and very, very easy to lose your braking point and go wide there. Still don't have it mastered, so just trying to stay ahead of Hulkenberg here and able to kind of collect ourselves, and still hopeful to be chasing down Button in the McLaren up in P7, but that's probably not going to last long. AI tends to pull away from me after the first couple of laps, and you can see I start to go wide here, and here comes Hulkenberg. Now wheel to wheel, and there's contact there, and his front wing has been damaged. I was trying to get back online and now being swarmed by Weber, and Weber's overtaken him and basically overshoot at the hairpin here, but able to stay ahead of now Weber. And Hulkenberg may have to go into pit. Hard to say how much wing damage he had. Basically, we were both competing for the same real estate, and it looks like his wing might have hit my tire, but no flat tire for me. And now just trying to fend off the Red Bull coming around here at the end of lap 2. And I can tell that it's definitely going to be a dogfight. Now let's see what kind of pace the AI has coming down the start-finish straight. And DRS has now been enabled, and here comes Weber. Let's see if he's going to make a move on the inside, and yes he is. Not going to worry about my curve. Should be able to get him at the braking point as long as it gives me room, which he does. But can we keep it on the rails? Barely able to when we swing back in front of him for P8. But you can see that he's also very, very swift through here and not giving up just yet. And here comes the Australian. Looking for a way around, not able to find it here. And the pressure already full-blown here in lap 3 just to try and stay in the points. So you can see skipping ahead further into the lap and still trying to catch up with the McLaren. And you can see I go wide here again, It's basically been working towards that through the entire race thus far. Had a little bit of problems with Hulkenberg on lap 1, went a little bit wide on lap 2, and then went really wide on lap 3, but fortunately able to stay ahead of Webber, and you can see really starting to lose my focus now, and really hoping I don't have problems, but I start to lose the car here, and still able to maintain P8. And now it's undoubted that Webber's going to make a move coming down the start-finish straight again. We are going to be competing with him here at the start of lap 4. And going to go ahead and use some curves to try and gain some steam. And here he comes. Let's see if he makes a move on the inside. Looks like he's going to run out of room, so not able to do so. But get my entry point wrong at turn 1 again, and more problems. Here comes Webber again, and let's see if he's able to make a move. And you can see behind him is the Force India, so Hulkenberg and Webber still in very hot pursuit. And you definitely don't want to sleep on the AI on that long sweeping right-hander. It's extremely easy to drift there and lose your line, but able to keep Webber behind us for now and still somehow have Button in our sights. I'm not sure how that's possible given how many problems I've had and how many mistakes I've made, but not going to argue about it. But now skipping ahead here, coming down to the dreaded hairpin in lap 5 and trying to stay ahead of Webber. And you can see being a little too cautious here, a little too much oversteer, and somehow able to stay ahead of him. And didn't roll off the curb for once, and coming around this extremely tricky corner here to try and straighten out before we get into the last handful of chicanes before the end of the lap, and getting it all wrong here at turn 13, now trying to see if we can straighten out here in turn 14 and 15 at the chicane, and barely able to keep it on the tarmac, but Webber very keen to get around now, and trying to level out as we come around the start-finish straight, and there's no question that he's going to be pushing us hard down here at the start of lap 6. Here he comes, and you can see that this is our last lap before a pit stop, and there goes Webber. Using my curves now, hoping to get him at the braking point, maintaining pretty good pace, but can we keep it on the track? And yes, basically clip the curbs on both sides, but able to swing back in front of him. And now Hulkenberg has actually overtaken Webber for P9, and so he's pushing very, very hard now, and he had been riding up very close to us that whole time and must have taken advantage of Webber making some kind of mistake, probably trying to avoid me as I start to go a little bit wide here. But the Force India not able to take advantage of my mistake. And now coming around this tight little hairpin, bending around, and you can see that Hulkenberg's not able to make any kind of an inside move. So now skipping ahead at the end of the lap, and going to go ahead and go into pit. And you can see our tires are pretty worn. Going to go ahead and turn my fuel mix down. And right now you can see that pretty good train of cars coming down to pass us here in the pit lane, and we're going to have to hope that we make up some ground once we get out on the prime tires, which of course means we'll be running slower, but hopefully we can leapfrog. And finally the team is able to get me out in under 4 seconds. I think that's the first sub-4 pit stop I've had for this entire season. So now coming out of the pit stops, and looks like we're going to be racing with Maldonado in the Williams. And you can see that Senna's running P15 right now, so right now sandwiched between the Williams. And definitely want to be kind of careful with my acceleration on this outlap, given how cold my tires are. Not only slower, but cold tires, and extremely easy to get slippery. So now coming up around here, and you can see Maldonado still giving me all kinds of problems. And now speeding down into La Caixa. And let's see if we can finally have our cleanest taking of the corner. And you can see pretty smooth, still a little bit slow, but at least didn't really lose any time there. And finally able to hit that well. So now coming around here at the start of lap 8, and you can see competing with Hamilton out in turn 1 and trying not to make contact, don't want a penalty and don't want to push him off, but you can see that he wavers now, probably because he's out on the cold tires, and able to get ahead of him and up into P9. So a very close call there with Hamilton coming out of the pit lane. But now you can see that we're chasing down our teammate Ricardo all the way up into P8. And probably going to take some kind of a mistake at this point unless we can keep pace. We are in the same car, but again, once the AI is around me on professional, it seems like I have a hard time catching up with him. So trying to keep him in our sights here, and trying to get our entry right here at the very tricky turn 7. It's so difficult to manage your speed in your entry there. And I believe you're supposed to roll up over the curb there, but I don't like hitting curbs in this game. They're much more unforgiving than 2010 or 2011, so I try and avoid it when I can. So let's see if we can get aggressive here at the hairpin, and no, we go wide. That's going to cause problems going off into the clag, and that's going to allow Hamilton by, and now Massa. Now desperate to get back in front of the Ferrari, now pushing on the inside here at turn 11, and no contact there, hugging the curb, trying to come around, and able to get P10 back. So despite the error there and 2 cars in close pursuit, able to get 1 position back, but having problems here at the chicane. And you can see I go offline there and get a warning there, and now starting to spin out, and somehow the Ferrari not able to get around me. So now almost blocking Massa, and you can see that he's not alone. Now turning up our fuel mix, desperate to try and maintain pace here down the start-finish straight. And you can see that Massa is going to go ahead and make a move here on the inside, and this is a lot like our competition with Weber earlier on, but able to stay ahead of the Ferrari as long as we don't get this turn wrong, and probably handle turn 1 there. I believe it's called Elf, as well as we have all day, and it cannot be a moment too soon. Desperately trying to hang on to this one measly point. It is a point though, and in the spirit of competition, we do not want to take that point for granted. You never know how things are going to look at the end of the season in terms of the standings. So want to maintain that. Now coming around New Holland at the end of lap 11. And let's see what Massa and the Ferrari behind have in store for us coming down the straight. And I can hear the roar of the engine now. Here he comes along on the inside. Let's see if we're able to get him at the braking point. Should have no problem as long as he leaves us room. And he does. And we're able to avoid the curb there. And able to avoid the curb there. So that's probably the cleanest that I've taken those sets of corners for the entire race. And it's a good thing. You can see Massa not through yet. Now having a look on the outside. And undoubtedly want to try and get around me, maybe possibly here if I drift to the left, but able to maintain an okay line through here. You can see Massa having a peak, but able to stay ahead and maintain P10 for now. And still got to get this thing around for another 5-6 laps, so let's see if we can hold this position. Now skipping ahead here near the end of lap 13, coming around turns 14 and 15 through the chicane. And start to lose grip a little bit, but able to catch the car there. And you can see Massa still trailing. And now coming around for the end of lap 13, let's see if we're able to keep Massa in our rear view mirrors, able to shave off 0.6 of a second from our previous lap, undoubtedly helped by a lighter fuel load. And fortunately for us, Massa not able to make any kind of a push here, so that's good news heading into the last 4 laps of the race. So now skipping ahead near the end of lap 14, still trying to keep Massa behind us. And you can see now he's pushing along here on the inside. And now rolling up on some back markers here and still having problems here at La Caixa, but the good news is we did not go wide and basically just took it kind of gingerly and at least able to keep it between the candy stripes and stay ahead of Massa, but we're going to have to figure out how to get around the traffic here. And of course our best bet will be to do that on the long start-finish straight at the start of lap 15. So don't want to make contact here with De La Rosa on the HRT, but want to make a strong push here. And the only downside of this whole thing is that Massa is going to be able to get around them quite easily as well. So back marker's not going to be able to do me any favors, as they have in races of the past where I'm able to overtake them in kind of a strange corner, for example. And that's able to keep my opponent behind me a little bit and buy me some time with my gaps. But no such luck here as we come around for the lap 15. And you can see Massa's now pushing very, very hard here, coming around New Holland. And he's going to have to try and make a move here, probably taking a look on the inside. And here comes the Ferrari. Let's see if we've got the pace. We've only got 2 laps to go here. And Massa able to overtake with ease. Let's see if we can get him at the braking point. Not a lot of room. And rolling off the side of the track and somehow able to regain control of the car and roll over the curbs as we come through turns 1 and 2. But despite the very hairy sequence, able to get back in front of Massa. And as you can see as we get near the end of the race here, that able to maintain that position, P10, and short of a spin out here, which will not happen, and you can see that the field is pretty well back. Able to get 10th position, which was our team expectation, so very happy to finish there. And unfortunately not able to finish ahead of Ricardo, but a good result for the team all the same. So the story of the race definitely shaking out mostly along the start-finish straight, where we had a number of duels. Taking a look at the race results, and Roman Grosjean and Team Lotus able to get the victory, and Michael Schumacher there in 2nd place, so interesting podium there. Mark Webber finishing 13th, and his teammate Sebastian Vettel finishing 3rd, so a big gap in Team Red Bull there. And Maldonado finishing in 12th, and Kimi in 11th. Sergio Perez down in 14th position. So a pretty interesting race. Happy to at least meet the team objective and move on. From here we have to head to the dreaded Monaco circuit, which is always a huge challenge, and given that the race lengths are now up to 25%, going to have to imagine that's going to be around an 18 to 20 lap race, which I'm not especially looking forward to, but it's always good fun for the viewers, watching the carbon fiber and wings and so forth fly. But hopefully we'll have some good luck there and get a good result. But until then, hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video. Feel free to check out my channel for a number of F1 2012 videos with commentary, as well as a season challenge mode series that's about a 10 video series. And also have a full season of F1 2011 with Force India. And lastly, a number of Forza 4 commentary videos. So all that can be found on my channel and through my playlists, and I have listed some of those in the description here. So hopefully that'll keep you occupied until the next one. And in that time, I'll be having nightmares about Monte Carlo. Who doesn't? Gonna have to hope that the F1 gods are smiling upon us to get through it, but should be fun, and I'll hope to see you then. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time.